Hello everyone, welcome to the Vishwashanti Darshan channel. The programming of the channel focuses on science, spirituality and peace. The channel is the brainchild of the Apostle of World Peace, Vishwadharmi Professor Dr Vishwanath Karad. I had been presenting to you the program Gyan Vigyan Dhara, wherein I shared my thoughts related to science and spirituality. Going a step further, we are lucky to have Dr Deepak Ranade. He's a consulting neurosurgeon. He has been contributing to the regular columns of the Times of India, The Speaking Tree. During my chat with him at the studios in VISHWARAJ BAUGH Loni, where he had come to see the world's largest peace dome, I posed 10 conversation points to him on his understanding of the domain of consciousness, which he says he is still understanding. So let's begin the tete-a-tete.
Hi, welcome to Vishwashanti Darshan channel. Today I have invited a very special guest, Dr Deepak Ranade. He's a neurosurgeon. Dr Deepak Ranade has a great interest in reading about consciousness.
Is realization a chemical reaction? Because research have revealed that when a person is subjected to pain, before and after showing him the picture of a deity he had faith in, his tolerance to pain was significantly better. Is it true? If so, why?
Coming to the first part of the question where you talk of is realization a chemical reaction. I'm a neurosurgeon and I have been right from my first MBBS days, I studied the brain, the physiology, the anatomy, and we talk of neurons, neuronal networks and chemical neurotransmitters. Like most of the diseases, neurological diseases are mediated by neurotransmitters. Like for example, when we talk of Parkinson's, there's a deficiency of dopamine. When we talk of there are excitatory neurotransmitters. So this had got me thinking that even a state of happiness or a state of sadness, like people who go into depression, they're given antidepressant drugs which actually modify the transmitters, chemical transmitters. So that had got me thinking as to, can realization also be mediated by some kind of a chemical reaction in the brain? And that was my thought process. But when you go deeper into this and as you try to unravel this phenomenon of realization, it comes to light that it is something like the unfortunate part is that we talk of when we talk of realization, we talk of it as achieving some state or reaching some point in your it's an objective phenomenon that I'll get to this point and I'm a realized soul. But the answer to this query lies in the term itself, the nomenclature, when they talk of it as a realization. It is not self-knowledge. It is not, it is a realization. And so this realization is something which is largely perception based. It is not a mood. When they talk of, there have been many accounts given by people that it is a state of bliss. That when you are a realized soul, you attain, there is no suffering or there is no, but it is more than that. It is something much more than that. It is not an episode which is based on the cognizing ability of the brain. It is a perception. It is a realization which comes from within. It is not mediated by any hormones. It's not mediated by any chemicals. To an extent, I have read about these references that there are some psychotropic drugs which probably give a very brief glimpse to what when there's a loss of a spatio-temporal matrix, and which could perhaps give a slight indication of what that state could be, because there is absolutely a thoughtlessness there. It is a state of bliss also. So after going through whatever available literature that there was, it probably is very, very unlikely that realization is something which is chemical based. It is not going to be mediated by any neurotransmitters for sure, and otherwise maybe chemical self-realization would have been, there are so many pharmaceutical companies who are doing so much research, they would have got a self-realization pill. You just take that pill and you've got realization.
But yet it is there, as you said, because
it's an abstract. It is an abstraction, and it is a modified perception. It is, you know, like I would say, in other words, coming back to that same example of that bubble, that if I am restricting my awareness to only my mind, body and intellect, but if that veil goes, then there is that realization is being one with the whole universe. I am the universe. And so that is, it is very unlikely to be mediated by any kind of a chemical. The second part of your query was when you were mentioning about the that deity which was a person was asked to think about.
Yes.
You know, there is a very pain itself is a very subjective phenomenon. As doctors, we see sometimes we have patients who come with whose tolerance to pain is very, very minimal, and some people, they go through untold suffering, but they have a high tolerance to pain. Now, what is this subjectivity in pain? Perception of pain. So, it is perhaps your ability to separate yourself and realize that the body is, it has been a documented phenomenon of people having an out-of-body experience also. So, the consciousness which animates my body actually migrates outside the body, and that the persons have been gone on record to say that they have seen their body from outside. Okay. Yes. So, which means that if the pain per se is a subjective phenomenon, there must be some methodology by which you can dissociate and understand that the body is separate from the perceiver. And that is the role where spirituality comes into play. We have seen that we have seen images of rishis walking on the on those fire charcoals, and it just goes to say that pain, as if one were to look at it very objectively, there if you could shift your awareness from that suffering element and maybe focus it on elsewhere and widen your awareness, it could decrease the perception of your pain. And that is the role. So actually the deity is just it's a device, it's a tool to shift the focus, distract. And and that is where, so actually, you know, there is a very interesting concept that there is a new emerging domain called as neurotheology. Neurotheology. Now, as you might know, theology is a study of God and religion, and neuro is of course neurology. So neurotheology is that branch of science which is trying to unravel what is happening in the brain as far as what is when we talk of transcendental phenomena like meditation, or when you think of God, they are talking of an hypothetical God center also in the brain, whether there is some center which mediates that God. So this perhaps we all are very well aware that there are so many religions, there are so many gods, there are so many objects of worship. So what is the underlying commonality to all this? The process of worshipping is common to all. Whom you worship is not important. So the objective is what? That you defocus your attention from the mind body to some other object, and whereby you start in the process your ego starts diminishing, and that is what bhakti is. When the worshipper and the worshipped become one, then there is absolutely that is the height of devotion. So that perhaps could explain why the pain becomes a little more tolerable, or a pain, as we talk of pain threshold, that pain threshold increases significantly if you are thinking of some deity or something, which is just a medium. Because you know, you have to understand one thing. This is one of my premises which I have always been thinking about, that let's assume that there is there's this huge ego of religions also. Each religion feels that I am the chosen religion. But if that be so, I am sure that the creator would not have been partial to say that only one particular religion is bestowed with the truth. They all are paths leading to the same goal. And I feel very pained to see the kind of destruction and mayhem that religion has created, because if they were to all agree to the fact that our roads are different but we are going to lead to the same place, then it would automatically eliminate all these disturbances and disagreements, you know.
Yeah, so much blood bath has happened
in the
past also.
It's very unfortunate. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Blissful heights. It is said that it is easier to climb on the top, but difficult to stay there. Now, what is your take on that, considering the fact that you have learned the art of mountaineering, you have been trained into that?
I've always enjoyed the mountains. They fascinate me, and I've done my basic course of mountaineering in Uttarkashi, and I was actually one of the team members for the first civilian Everest expedition in '92, but I had to resign from that expedition because I was doing my residency in neurosurgery. But it has been my uniform experience of climbing the mountain. You know, it's like your entire journey of life gets encapsulated in that 7-day expedition experience. We all begin by seeing that mountain, which is looking very intimidating, and it feels that, oh my God, it must be so beautiful. And then you start saying that, okay, I'm going to walk, and you start walking. And then as the first part of the climb starts, you start getting a bit tired, and you say, oh my God. Then another half an hour down that, and you're 1 hour down that, and you're saying, where the hell did I have to come to this? I'm cursing myself, I'm running out of breath, and then I'm feeling very uncomfortable. I don't have water, I have to have limitations in drinking water. But then nonetheless I have to continue. And as I go further, I go to camp 1, and then eventually when I reach that camp 1, then I take a respite and I look at the mountain again, and I say, now that mountain is looking closer. And although I'm stressed a bit, it's worth the experience and worth the effort to get to a higher point to see this mountain closer. But more importantly, what you realize is, after you've gained a little bit of height, the awareness of how big the world is. Because when I'm on ground, my vision is restricted to a couple of feet.
Your line of sight.
So a line of sight. But as I gain height, I get to realize the vastness of the terrain, the vastness of the entire landscape, and how insignificant I am in this whole scheme of things. And so this whole experience of being in the mountains is something which is very, very, it's a process of self-discovery. And like I am not very certain about this reference, but it was a quote given by, I think, Sir Edmund Hillary, who climbed Everest. He said that when I reach the top of a mountain and I summit it, I have not conquered the mountain, I have conquered myself and my fears. So if you look at the journey of life, when I climb the mountain, I have my apprehensions, I have my anxieties. And when I reach the summit, I am too insignificant a person to say I have conquered the mountain. But in the process of reaching there, I have conquered my own fears, and that is the beauty of this whole thing. And it is really a very liberating experience when you go on reach on the top, and the kind of the stunning landscapes that you see, and the mountainscapes and the snow-capped mountains, they really make you realize also one more thing, that something so beautiful, it has the little, I have myself experienced that at a point in time, that there is a little bit of fragrance of divinity over there on the top, and that is so beautiful.
No, you are right, because I remember as a child I have observed this, that when we went to Kashmir, the mountains there, the air has a romance in it. It looks like, you can feel. But when you go to Uttarkashi or these mountains here, you feel a different thing. You just want to bow down to the Lord and say that, okay, here I am, and that is there. Okay, on this only, why do people go to mountain?
There's a very interesting question. There was this question was asked to, I think there was this Sir Irwin Mallory, who was one of the mountaineers who was supposedly the first to have climbed Everest, but it was not documented. No, he died in the process. Okay. And they found his ice axe a few meters from the summit. So the people are not sure whether that he died on his way up or on his way down. So, but when he was asked this question, why do you climb mountains? His answer was simply because they're there.
Thank you. I know. I was expecting that. Thanks, doctor. So I would like to give a halt to this episode here, and we'll take it up next week also. Keep watching Vishwashanti Darshan.